TG Geeks, episode 174, June 18th, 2018. Mighty Aphrodite is pretty incredible. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane and we're coming to you from a little overcast, drizzly Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, only wearing galbaki here in Phoenix, Arizona. No, I swear I would only wear Edna Mode.
Edna Mode. Yes. We have a really interesting interview for you today, and then we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show, too. So we're going to get right to it. And this time on the show, we've got Mr. Gene Turnbow from Krypton Radio, and he's here to talk to us about...
Station manager of
Krypton Radio. Thank you. And he's here to talk to us about a new web series that he is creating called Mighty Aphrodite. Welcome to the show, Gene.
Hi, guys. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so... why don't you tell us who you are and how you got started, and then we can talk about Mighty Aphrodite. But we want, for our listeners that don't know who you are,
shame,
please tell us.
I am the creator and founder of Krypton Radio. It's the world's only full-time geek culture science fiction radio station. Not a podcast, it's a radio station, which means we're on 24 hours a day, around the clock and around the world. We're currently heard in 165 countries. Krypton Radio is sort of a living archive of our time. We feature music and radio serials and all sorts of things that create the audio environment of the geekosphere.
Geekosphere. Ooh, I need to add that to my lexicon.
We've called it the potosphere. In fact, our little promo ad that we do, I say it's the wildest ride in the potosphere.
No, but I like geekosphere, actually.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Or nerdosphere, so, but yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So and you have been doing a lot of things with Krypton Radio, and how long have you been in business, or how long have you been running with Krypton Radio?
Krypton Radio started in 2009.
Wow.
We were a bunch of gamers who wanted some exciting music to listen to while we were doing our online gaming, and we could not find a sci-fi radio station, so we made one.
Oh, interesting.
And then a couple of years later, we looked around and we realized that nobody else was doing it. We'd been doing it 2 years and nobody else had been doing it. So we decided, okay, maybe there's something here, so let's make a business out of it.
Right.
So we made a business out of it, and we went from 0 fans to 1,000 on Facebook in about 2 months.
Wow. That's amazing.
And we incorporated in 2013, became profitable in 2015.
Awesome.
And we are, I think this weekend we'll probably crest 7,500 fans on Facebook. And we're heard by 50,000 listeners a month in 165 countries now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Absolutely incredible.
I mean, that kind of growth. Yeah. I know that a lot of people, they try to get into some kind of internet streaming, do the podcast, whatever, and a lot of people do it with the intent of, envisioning dollar signs or becoming profitable kind of thing. And for many podcasters, that's going to end up being a huge disappointment. So to hear this kind of success story for Krypton Radio that's really encouraging. I mean, not to tell future people that wish to go into this kind of industry, don't do it thinking that you're going to make a buck. But
no, absolutely don't do it thinking that you're going to make a buck, because unless you're doing something absolutely unique, and I mean absolutely unique, you probably won't. There are podcasts out there that make $5,000 a month on Patreon. for example.
Wow.
We don't get $5,000 a month on Patreon. I wish we did. But even as unique as we are, we're still struggling.
Right.
We make enough to make ends meet and make a little bit of money at the end of the month so that we can pay our business fees and taxes and everything. But we know we're not pedaling backwards.
Right.
Right.
We're not pedaling forwards at any great speed either.
Right.
No, but as you said, I mean, you're making it. It is profitable. It may not be wealth untold, but at least it covers the overhead.
A penny over the break even is profitable.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, but included in that is also it gives me the ability to pay some of the creative people who do the work for the station. And this is unheard of in fandom.
Right.
Usually fan sites don't pay anything, but we pay a penny a word. In fact, we're looking for more writers. If you're listening to this podcast and you want to write for Krypton Radio, email me at submissions@kryptonradio.com and pitch me.
Yeah.
And we'll pay a penny a word if it's good stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So,
but the idea is that we're trying to help people rise, and you can't do it unless you have the money to do it. And we have a little bit of what profit we do get goes back out to our creative producers.
well, that's cool. So tell us about Mighty Aphrodite. Did you want to introduce it in any specific
particular way?
Or
Well, this is the weird thing. You hear about internet radio or new media or whatever you want to call it, and you don't automatically think, oh, podcasters or radio personalities making animation doesn't make a whole lot of direct sense. But here we are. The parent company, Krypton Media Group, was always intended to be a transmedia company.
right.
Because, I mean, let's face it, you can't be just a thing anymore. You have to be, if you're a podcast, you have to be a podcast that's about something people like, and you have to do convention appearances, and you have to travel, and sometimes you have to make things that are sort of adjacent to what you do.
Absolutely. We have discovered that ourselves.
Oh, have we ever?
We were just talking about how this podcast has evolved over the last 4 years. So,
Oh, indeed. Well, you guys have come a long, long way. I mean, your public visibility is very good.
Well, that's good. So
Compliment quite a lot.
Yeah, so tell us, you wanted to do something as an introduction for
Yeah,
Mighty
a very
Aphrodite?
special. Yeah, a unique introduction to Mighty Aphrodite.
Well, it's an animated web series, and it's short and it's fun, and it's the story of the goddess of love herself, who awakens 2,000 years later and returns to the world of mortals, and to her great surprise falls in love.
Uh-huh.
And essentially hilarity ensues, because she's not the goddess she once was, and she doesn't quite have a handle on things as well as she thinks she does. So not everything goes smoothly.
Right. So does she have a theme song?
Well, she does, and it's one that I wrote myself, and it's sort of a little samba thing.
Okay. And do you have a sample of that?
Yeah, actually I don't have a pre-recorded one, but I do have my guitar here.
Well, how about that? Well, let's hear it.
Okay. This is the world's first. This is the first time anybody's heard this version. So, the previous version that we have on the Kickstarter, that you can get to at mightyaphroditewebseries.com, there's a full episode of it. Of Mighty Aphrodite presented in the Kickstarter, just to prove we can do it. And the theme for that was done on ukulele. So this is on guitar, so it's a little bit more robust. So here we go. Let's see if I can get through this.
liked it.
That is kind of neat.
I was digging it. I was envisioning, because I play also guitar, so I was envisioning how, the fingers. Key of G, for starters.
I don't even know. Yeah, I think it's in G.
Yeah, it's key of G. I recognize the chording.
But some of the chords, I could not tell you what they were because I'm doing contortions, getting those first two chords.
Yeah.
Because the opening ones are done with my ring finger and my pinky on the second and third strings, and that's the first chord.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like G with a fifth. But no, actually, I really dug it. That was a really cool intro.
So that was you kind of let the cat out of the bag that there's a Kickstarter. So that's kind of why we have you on air here or on the show, so that we can talk about that Kickstarter. And as of this recording, you have already met your first goal. Is that correct?
Not only have we met our first goal, we met our first goal on the first day.
Whoa!
That's incredible.
Kickstarter, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not very common that a campaign will hit its goal on day one. Now, granted, our goal was set very low.
Right.
But still, it's a feather in our cap, and no matter what happens, we will always have that in our history.
Yeah.
That we did a Kickstarter and it funded in a day.
Yeah, that's cool. So, once again, the address for the Kickstarter was? MightyAphroditeWebSeries.com. That will relay you to the Kickstarter website. And once the Kickstarter finishes, it will be the home for the episodes themselves. Oh, cool. And then there's all kinds of different ways that people can be involved in this Mighty Aphrodite. And you had originally, the original amount for the Kickstarter was for how many episodes? It was for 3 episodes, and what it does is it gets us the software license for the software that we need to produce it. And we need the license not because we can't do the show without the license, but we can't release it legally without that license. Right.
So we have to have that.
Cool.
And then the rest of the money goes towards paying the voice actors.
Cool.
Sean Crosby, who is our morning DJ, Sean Crosby, who does Good Morning Tatooine every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern Time. And our other voice actor, the voice of Aphrodite herself, is Mary R. Berkman Kreidler. And this is her first time as a voice actor, and she's absolutely perfect for the role, first of all. She does have a background in theater, but she's never worked on a transmedia production like this. It's been strictly theater up to this point.
Interesting. So that's a good mix there. So do you have other, there's more than 2 characters, I would assume? You got incidentals.
The third character that we introduce, let's see, episode 2, we get to meet Aphrodite's father, Zeus. Oh. And he and she have a heart-to-heart talk about falling in love too fast. And the third episode, Aphrodite and her new boyfriend, Ben, go to Egypt. And they go to the tomb of Kauket, who is the Egyptian goddess of twilight.
I was about to ask if we're going to be seeing some kind of crossing of streams in mythology.
Oh yes. Well, in our mythological universe, most of the old gods have passed to the underworld. They're no longer around. And the reason is that humans have stopped believing in them. And it is this belief force that keeps them alive.
But she fell asleep and just avoided going to the underworld, huh?
Well, what happened was she was visiting a little village and was borrowing a temple of Hera because there was a little cult of Aphrodite in the village and she wanted to be near them. And then that little cult sort of dried up in a generation and went away, and she got stranded there.
Oh, dear.
And she couldn't manifest. So she's still alive because people still believe in Aphrodite in general, but nobody was in physical proximity close enough to give her enough energy to manifest. And then Ben shows up, who was one of the last true believers.
Aha.
And this is a contemporary told story, correct?
Right, that's right.
I'm fascinated. But okay, so where did the idea for Mighty Aphrodite originally come from? Because as a story concept goes, I find this to be quite fascinating. I mean, I'm reading another book right now that deals a little bit with mythology, and the fact that the point that you brought up about how the gods, their existence, depended upon the belief system of the people. So to hear you now echo that in Mighty Aphrodite, I think is a fascinating concept. Where did you initially grab onto that idea?
Well, I think the seed of that concept comes from Neil Gaiman and Sir Terry Pratchett, the late Sir Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett wrote a book called Small Gods, and it was set in his Discworld universe. And he set up the idea there that there were many minor gods and that they derived their strength purely from belief. Mm-hmm. And then there was this new collaboration between Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett right before he died. I think it's called American Gods. Mm-hmm. And it's much the same sort of problem. You know, they're vying for the belief of the humans that keep them going. So I think that's where the germ of the idea came up. But Mighty Aphrodite as a web series concept herself came up when I was playing with the software that we're using to make this thing. It turns out that it's normally used for making educational and explainer videos. It's not normally used as a dramatic vehicle. And it's called Plotagon, by the way, if you're curious. Plotagon, Plotagon.com, and it's made by a little company in Switzerland. And you can get the app and download it onto your phone and make little movies by entering scripts and designing characters and
fascinating
and this kind of thing. And I found that with careful writing, you can create stories that don't look like you have limitations. I mean, if you're very careful about it, you can write around the limitations of the software and create engaging stories. And I found myself at 2 o'clock in the morning writing Mighty Aphrodite, the first episode, which is very, very similar to the episode that you see about halfway down the page in the Kickstarter under the headline, "The Proof is in the Hummus."
I see. So you have how many episodes planned, at least for this season?
Well, we've got 14 planned. I don't know if we're going to make 14 because we're dependent on how many stretch goals we hit. Mm-hmm. Every extra $1,000 we gets us 3 more episodes.
Cool. So, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that one of the things that makes the series so remarkable is the fact that we're able to do it for so little money.
Right.
Yeah.
And still get this kind of quality.
I'm curious about something. Now, you said that you initially had these Kickstarter goals so that you could then get the software license that would then allow you to then use the software for the releasing of these episodes. Am I correct on that?
That's correct.
Okay, so for anybody who's listening, some people might be wondering, then what will be the purpose of future Kickstarter goals beyond that?
Well, for one thing, we can pay our voice actors.
Aha, there you go.
Because I want to make sure that everybody who works on this gets paid to do it. I mean, it's important. What Krypton Radio does, what Krypton Media Group does, is we're sort of a proving ground for new talent. And there aren't very many places you can go to get your start in whatever it is that your passion is. Mm-hmm. If you're a filmmaker, you could go work for Roger Corman while he was still doing films.
Right.
If you're a writer, you can set yourself up on Quora or Medium.com and cut your teeth that way. But it's very hard to get noticed. Mm-hmm. So instead, we have built our own distribution channel. We created our own distribution channel from scratch, and then said, okay, everybody, if you've got an idea, if you have a dream, come play in our yard. Mm-hmm. And we will pay you so that you can say, I did this professionally.
Right.
Because that being able to say that apparently makes a great deal of difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
That launches careers to be able to say that.
Yeah, I agree. And I please forgive me when I asked that question. I just wanted the audience to understand, that that by having these Kickstarters, that it's not just for the sake of take. That there was a reason for this money to come in, and as you said, this allows you to pay your voice talent, which is an important thing. So in terms of the writing of these stories, are you the sole writer, or are you bringing in other people to help flesh out story ideas?
Well, so far I've been writing all the stories myself, but my wife, Susan Fox, is going to be writing the second episode, which is the one where Aphrodite and her father have a discussion about falling in love too fast and what that might mean in terms of the strength of her divine powers, which aren't what they were. And we might be having more writers. We'll see how it goes. But some of the other things we're going to be spending money on is making better animation and hiring, if we get tons of money, I don't think we will, but if we get tons of money, we can hire animators to help us do special things that the Plotagon engine cannot do,
right,
to extend our creative expression, and to help us distribute Mighty Aphrodite so that it can be eventually exhibited on things like Netflix or Crunchyroll or wherever it takes us.
Right. So on the Kickstarter, once you've met your goal, can't you continue to extend past the time period that you've allotted for the Kickstarter? I don't understand Kickstarter.
Yeah,
I understand Indiegogo better.
There is a way to do that, but it's essentially there are two competing crowdfunding platforms, two big ones. Well, there are 3 or 4 really. There's Kickstarter, there's Indiegogo, and there's GoFundMe.
Right.
GoFundMe is primarily used for people who have are suddenly taken ill and have life-altering amounts of money that they have to come up with, and if they don't get it, it's going to ruin their lives. And that's mostly what GoFundMe is known for. It's not known for creative ventures all that much.
Right.
And then you have Kickstarter, which everyone is familiar with, where you set a certain time period and you run your campaign, and if you make your goal at the end, you get to keep it. And if you don't, then you don't.
Right.
And with Indiegogo, if you don't make your goal at the end of the time period, you still get to keep the money, but you're also on the hook for finishing the project, whether you got all your money or not.
Right.
Which is the real danger there, and a lot of people get in trouble on that.
Right.
But once we finish our Kickstarter campaign, we can take it across to Indiegogo. They have a special feature that lets you extend a Kickstarter campaign and make it open-ended. And they have a special tool for importing your Kickstarter into Indiegogo. This is a way of sort of scraping off some extra business from Kickstarter.
Right.
And I think it's a clever idea, and it's very well suited for the kind of project Mighty Aphrodite is.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at. I thought there was a way, and I wasn't sure how that all worked. So, since you've already met your first goal, you're meeting your stretch goal, and then you can continue on and bring more money in to finish the series and do what you need to do. That's great.
Fantastic. So for people who want to learn more about Mighty Aphrodite, now you said that the web address, and I guess for the Kickstarter, that's what, mightyaphroditewebseries.com, is that correct?
That's correct. That will take you to the Kickstarter, and once the Kickstarter is finished, it'll take you to either the Indiegogo campaign, or it will be the home of the new home of the series, with a link to the Indiegogo campaign. I haven't decided yet.
Right.
And we're going to be adding some more. We're going to be adding some more perks and things once we get over to Indiegogo. There'll be pins and badges and bracelets and,
Ooh, cool.
and other kinds of things.
Merchandise.
Yeah, merchandise
Yay.
that aren't in the Kickstarter campaign right now.
And then, does Mighty Aphrodite have a Twitter handle?
Yeah, is there any other web
other
web
social
presence?
medias and intertubes and
Yeah, on Pinterest, I think she's Aphrodite Anim and then the numeral 8. So it's Aphrodite Animate.
Cute.
And I think that's the same handle on Twitter. And of course, most of the news is already coming through Krypton Radio, so it's at Krypton Radio.
Mm-hmm.
So,
for Krypton Radio, then that just Krypton. You know, I'm about to make a Superman joke. That's CRI. No. KRY. KryptonRadio.com.
KRYPTONradio.com.
yeah.
Cool.
And then, do you have does Krypton Radio? They have a Twitter handle as well, correct?
Yes, the Krypton Radio Twitter handle is at Krypton Radio.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Great. And this has been really great. So everybody check out Mighty Aphrodite, because just a couple of days after this podcast airs, we'll come to the end of that Kickstarter campaign. So get in.
Home stretch.
Yeah, so get in while you can, because it's a great series and great people making it, and we look forward to seeing the fruits of your efforts.
Well, it sounds like a fantastic story. I mean, again, I'm really intrigued with the universe that is involved. So yeah, I'd like to see this thing kind of continue.
Yeah, I mean, the reaction that I generally get is, "Oh my God, where can I binge watch this? Where's this?
Exactly.
Where can I see it?"
Well, you can't yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Hopefully soon.
But we're getting there.
Hold your horses. Hold your horses. All right. Well, thank you, Gene, for being on the show this time.
Yeah, thank you. It was very informative, very educational, and I can't wait to see where this is all going to go.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me on.
Hi, I'm Patricia Chica, director, producer, and here you are listening to my favorite podcast, The Two Gay Geeks. Oh, yeah.
And here are a few selected birthdays for June 18th through June 24th, 2018. June 18th, David Giantoli.
Everybody's favorite Grimm.
Yeah, and Carol Kane. What do you say about Carol Kane?
What do I say? Liar!
Liar! Yes. And Roger Ebert, who really, if you think about it, Roger and Gene did the first podcast
you're right.
on movies.
It was a video thing, but you're right. They were doing the first podcast on PBS. I hadn't even considered that until just now.
Yeah, exactly. Also on June 18th, Paul McCartney.
Sir Paul.
And Christopher Lloyd, who's
Okie doke.
has done many, 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 many things that are rememberable.
In fact, there's nothing more. Too many.
Moving on.
Too much more. Yeah.
June 19th, Lou Gehrig, who, if we hadn't discovered that his disease that he had, it's called Lou Gehrig disease.
But
yes.
but because of him, we became aware of ALS.
Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
Yeah.
And it is a devastating disease.
Yeah.
Also on June 19th,
What a
Zoe
downer.
Saldana. June 20th, Chet Atkins, the other guitar player that a lot of people have never heard of, but he was a
How can you not have heard of Chet Atkins?
Incredible.
Oh, my word.
I was looking up some of Chet's work, and he did a couple of albums with Les Paul.
Oh, yeah.
And,
In fact, my stepdad just raved about it. He says, Les Paul was awesome to watch. Chet Atkins was awesome to watch. But he says the real magic was always and ever Chet and Les played together.
Yep. And he did an album with Mark Knopfler, too.
Yes.
Interesting. So, also on June 20th, Martin Landau and Jacques Offenbach, who wrote several operettas.
As opposed to Offen Mozart.
Yes, Offen Mozart, yes. And on June 20th,
Who are these guys?
TG Geeks.
Never heard of them.
Came to life.
Never heard of them.
4 years ago, 2014, on June 20th. Amazing.
What?
And it was a Saturday, too. And it's Saturday we're recording. Yeah. Interesting.
Oh, that's far out.
Or was that the first day of our first podcast that we released?
4 years, I mean, it takes, 7 days for a day to actually return back to whatever day it is.
So
of the
it may
week.
have been that was the day.
The day it was the
date that we
or something?
first did our first podcast or released our first podcast. So
Maybe.
I don't remember. Anyway.
We got a website to check that out.
Yeah, exactly. June 21st, Chris Pratt and Jane Russell. Jane Russell was discovered by Howard Hughes
Right.
for his film, The Outlaw. It was released in 1943. It was actually copyrighted and in 1941, but he held on to it because of, all of the censorship laws and this and that and the other. And is also famous for creating the stainless steel bra that was supposed to enhance her
I remember
chest.
the commercials for that.
Yeah.
I mean, they were advertising that on television.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that she never wore the bra. So
Yeah, how many celebrities
but
actually
everybody
never,
knows about it.
Yeah, how many celebrities actually never use the item that they're pushing?
Yeah. But the stainless steel bra was built for her. It was not you're thinking of a different bra on TV.
I know, but they called it that.
Yeah, well, anyway. So June 22nd, Meryl Streep, Tim Russ, Cyndi Lauper, Bruce Campbell, Billy Wilder, famed director, and Paul Frees.
Oh, man,
your
I need to
ghost
hear the
host.
The ghost host of the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah. June 23rd, Joss Whedon, Bob Fosse, and Alan Turing. June 24th, Mick Fleetwood, Mindy Kaling, Dietrich Buxtehude, who is actually, he was a Danish organ composer that, to be honest, most of the people that study organ play Buxtehude's work.
Really?
Yeah, very famed.
Wow.
Also, our niece, Mariah Lane. Happy birthday, Mariah.
Happy birthday.
And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Hi, this is Holly. You're tuned in to Krypton Radio. It's sci-fi for your Wi-Fi.
Go listen to some of the shows over on Krypton Radio.
Yeah, I love that production value for that bumper. It's so awesome.
Just so cool. Yeah, KryptonRadio.com. They're 24 hours, round the clock, across the world. And now, it's time for everybody's favorite.
I don't know if it's everybody's favorite.
Well,
But there's a lot of fun stuff in here. It's the feedback time, so I got a little bit here I want to cover. Last episode 173, we gave a couple of birthday shout-outs, one to Kathy Rippey Falconberry.
my cousin.
And another one to Dr. Christy Hartman, who we've had on the show a number of times. She's an author and scientist. And from Kathy, she says, thanks for the birthday shout-out. I'm glad to keep having them. And
Yes.
Kathy, we're glad that you're having them, too.
Absolutely.
And from Dr. Hartman, she says, I miss you guys.
yeah, Christy
and
is
Christy,
a
we miss you,
wonderful
too.
author. Yeah.
Oh, very scientific. She writes
Wonderful.
hard sci-fi.
hard sci-fi. Yeah.
Very hard sci-fi. She's amazing, and she's a great guest.
Yeah.
And then we also, a couple of weeks ago, did a review on Flash Gordon, the 1980 film, under our old
1980.
classics newly reviewed, and got a number of comments from that one, starting from...
Flash. There we go.
starting from Arkle. If you were to ask me why the Flash Gordon movie works so well, in one word, that word would be sincerity. This movie knows what it is, and it doesn't apologize for it, nor does it do any sort of wink and nod to the camera. It leans in. Not many movies, even good ones, do that. And yes, absolutely 100%. That's why I think that movie was ahead of its time, because the
Absolutely.
audience was not sophisticated enough when it first came out to get it. The audience is now.
Oh, yeah.
Now we get it. Now we understand. We didn't get it when at least the audience, when we saw it in 1980. No, we didn't get it.
Not the boar worms.
Not the boar worms. Well, that one line did kind of stand out a little bit. Yeah, that was awesome.
No.
And then I got a comment from our own very own Jeannie Koch. She said, "Oh my God, you went for the 80s version? I still remember that version." And he said, "I thought you reviewed the 1930s.
Oh, no.
Though I think those were serials." Yes, Jeannie, you'll be correct. That was a serial that was running every week. Then she said, "There's also Flesh Gordon, and God help me, I could do a review of that. It was so taboo in 1978 and is now so silly in 2018. Jeannie, I got one word. Yes, do it. I would love to. I love that movie.
So it would be flesh. Ooh.
Yeah. We're like, ooh. Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh. Yeah. Okay, we'll stop from there. And then oh man, we're going to get an explicit tag just on that. And then we got something from Andrea Richoff. She says, "I love the 80s version. There is no other version to watch." Yes, I agree. And then lastly from Carol Kernich. She says, "Flash Gordon is one of my favorite movies." And I agree. I love that movie. And that was your first time seeing it on the big screen, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great. I had never seen it on the big screen. I always seen it on TV.
What did you think of it on the big screen?
Oh, it was fabulous. I thought it was great.
Didn't it just look awesome?
Just I said that it was that whole blending of the throwback of the crazy sci-fi movie Flash Gordon serial with updated technology. It was just incredible.
To me, it was like Flash Gordon meets Dynasty.
Yeah.
With the costumes.
Yeah, exactly.
So moving on, we ran a review last week of The Incredibles 2. We got a comment from Dottie. Who's Dottie?
Dottie Crone is a coworker of mine.
Exactly. She's a huge Disney fan.
Yeah.
She says, "Thank you, Ben, for an incredible review. Cannot wait to see this." And they got a comment from Tommy Cannon, who we've talked a little bit about, and you've seen press releases from him. He says, "I love the first film, and I love Pixar. Coco had me in tears at the end, so you can tell that the artists and writers at the studio really are family people. Coco, Toy Story, Finding Nemo, and The Incredibles were all about family, and that is their strength. They lure us in with the genre and beautiful art and snag our hearts with their storytelling and themes. I'm very excited to see this film." And you won't be sorry, because, anyway. Then we got a comment from Jeannie Koch. She says, "I cannot wait to see this." And then another comment from Andrea again. She says, "Me too. Looking forward to Thursday." And as it was, Andrea, her husband Duncan, Keith and I, we saw it again on Thursday night. And then moving on, we had a review for Katie Edwards. You heard him on our show last time.
Yeah.
We interviewed him again as The Last Son was getting ready to come out, and got a review out there for how The Last Son is pure magic. Got a comment from Andrea Richoff. She says, "Sounds interesting." And then a comment from the author himself, and he wrote, "I'm freaking humbled. Whenever a reviewer takes pains to really get in your headspace and sees corners and angles in your story that you hadn't even noticed, it's a gift." And then lastly, we got a comment from Sarah Megabow. And who is she?
She is Katie Edwards' agent.
Right.
Yes.
She writes, "Great review for Katie Edwards." And that is our feedback for now.
Yeah, and if you want to leave a comment or a feedback on anything, whether it's our podcast or on our articles or anything that we post on Facebook, you can do that. Please play nice, be kind, and if you leave us a comment, we will talk about it on air. You can also call us and leave us voicemail feedback at 469-844-3357. That's 469-TG-GEEKS.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
Oh boy, we got, man, have things been exploding for us.
Big week.
We've been holding on to this little announcement. We kind of teased it, but, yeah, why don't you, lead us second segment?
We're supposed to do the weekly review first.
Oh, we are supposed to do the second? Why is everything out of order on the script?
I don't know.
I didn't change it. It is.
Oh. Well, I guess it is. Huh. Oh, interesting. Why is...
Everything's out of... I didn't change the order on the script.
Oh, well. Anyway, so then we have to do this.
That's right.
Wrong music. I pressed the wrong button. That's why it's out of order.
That's why you're out of order. Blame the engineer.
There you go.
Silly
me.
Okay, yeah,
It's
it's the
like,
engineer's fault.
I thought, what the heck is he doing? Because I just scrolled on right
And we're not fixing it in post. So there it is, people.
There
It's
it is.
going out live.
Yep.
But yeah, we do have a huge announcement that we've been teasing for some time. No, what? You were making the strangest face there. You have this like, what was he
What
doing?
is he talking about? Why are we talking about this yet? It's not there yet.
You keep looking at me. Like, well, this is why.
Yeah. So we are going to be part of Krypton Radio. We're going to
Wow.
join the rest of the wonderful shows that are over on Krypton Radio. We're going to have a time slot that is actually 2 time slots, 1 time slot, 12 hours
12 hours apart.
Yeah, so that it's the same time in different parts of the world, yada yada. So
Yeah,
this is a 24-hour internet radio station.
Do you want to talk about how this all happened?
Pardon?
How this came about?
Well, it was we had been on a panel with Gene Turnbow.
This was last year for Comic-Con.
Right, at San Diego Comic-Con, and just said hi and kind of got to know Gene just real briefly, and then we kind of friended him on Facebook as TG Geeks and then as myself, and we've kind of been back and forth.
We got to press a little bumper from him that you heard earlier in the episode.
And Gene, we saw him a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "I've been meaning to talk to you guys."
Well, we approached him at WhedonCon.
Yeah.
And said, you can give us a bigger bumper, 15 seconds. I mean, it's great. We love it. You can go to 30 seconds. And then he comes up with, well, I've been meaning to ask you guys.
And then we started talking, and it kind of turned into we talked to him for about an hour and kind of worked out some details on
but the fact
Krypton Radio.
They approached us to say we would like and he went so far as to say that he thought that we would be good for the Krypton Radio network.
Well, and I thought
that we would help them.
Okay,
I'm like,
you're going to help us.
Seriously? Then this is going to be mutual back scratching in the best form, because I think that being on the network is only going to benefit us at the same time.
It's not a network.
I
was corrected on that. So
the Krypton Radio channel.
Yes, all of the above.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's great. We're going to be on Krypton Radio, and as soon as we know when the time slot is going to be and where it's going to be,
because
and all the specifics, because there's
a whole website that needs to be built first, a web page,
and some other specifics that need to happen. And Gene's kind of recovering from they had a major server crash here about 6 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, they're still picking up the pieces from that one.
So it will be, soon we will let you know, and we did the press release, obviously, this week, but we'll let you know when we're going to be on Krypton Radio.
Gene did a Facebook Live little announcement about it, which was just awesome.
That was great, yeah. It was thanks, Gene, for that.
Yeah.
So this show has kind of been Krypton Radio heavy.
A bit.
Just a bit.
Not that I'm complaining. Not that I'm complaining.
Exactly.
And we're more than happy to
absolutely
put our foot there.
We're very excited about
terribly
being part
excited
of Krypton Radio. And that's why we're not rushing through a bunch of things. We may rush through it at the end because we're trying to stay within a 1 hour time slot now.
We're trying to go for a 57-minute deadline on every episode now.
So we've run long a little bit,
Hour 7.
Yeah, hour 7 for, 6 weeks. It was every episode was an hour 7, no matter what we did. Anyway, so we're going to be part of Krypton Radio. That's kind of a neat thing, and we can't wait to share more information.
Absolutely, as it comes. So, moving on, ran a little review about the wrap-up of Sense8, which dropped on Netflix at the beginning of June.
Oh, my gosh.
And holy cow. I will admit, I was dreading to watch it because, A, I knew there was going to be ugly tears, and B, I didn't want to say goodbye.
I know, I didn't either.
I really didn't. I love this cluster.
I love those people, yeah.
They're just awesome.
They were part of our lives.
So, anybody can go, you can read what my thoughts were about Sense8, the series in general, especially this wrap-up. But what were some of the takeaways that you got out of this?
I thought it was very emotional. But the whole series has been an emotional roller coaster to begin with, and so, but there were some tears there, but it was a very satisfying ending. They were able to wrap it up and not rush it and not minimize it. I wish they had had a whole season to kind of, keep that going or wrap it up or whatever. But in a 2.5-hour time slot, they did a good job of being able to wrap it up.
It was feature-length film
Yeah.
type wrap-up. And
Yeah.
I'll admit, as much as I want to see more, the way they wrapped it up was just remarkably beautiful and sort of mind-expanding.
Yeah, it was. And I think that had they been given a whole season, we sort of would have seen a little bit more intrigue as we have, in past seasons. But the season 2 finale ended on such a cliffhanger that they were able to pick that up and actually wrap it up in the 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and I know that everybody's still buzzing from it. I know that Lana Wachowski is just riding high. The positive reactions that she's been getting. I know the entire cast is thrilled with it. I loved it to no end. And again, I'd love to see more. Maybe even if they just did graphic novels.
Well, I mean, I don't think that it, precludes doing one-offs every once in a while. Maybe a Christmas episode or a reunion episode or something like that.
I would love that.
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be really awesome.
They could do that,
even if it's like once every other year.
Yeah, or I mean, it doesn't even have to be one of those gigantic 2.5-hour things. They could do a 1 hour, since they're all in the same place right now, and several of them are going to actually stay there. So
yeah.
You never know.
Mm-hmm. So, moving on, Incredibles 2. Now, you heard some of the feedback that we had on that. We got to go to a press screening for this one. And, I loved it.
I did
There
too.
It is.
Yep, absolutely.
And you can see my review on that. But, okay, honey.
It was, it was pretty incredible. There were some great gags, and, oh my gosh, some things that, needed to be said, and some very touching moments too. Some very, very touching moments.
Yes.
I mean, just family moments. You can, as Tommy Cannon in his feedback said, that it's you can tell that the people at Pixar are family people.
Mm-hmm.
So they put a lot of heart and they put a lot of family emotion and dynamics in their films.
Yeah, and there wasn't any reset button at the end of the first film to take us into the second one. I mean, this is
it picks up right as the other film ends.
Total continuation, and that just made this movie even that much more enjoyable.
Yep.
I mean, I'd be hard pressed to ask which one did I like better, and I think my answer is I love them both equally.
Exactly.
I mean, it was such an amazing film. I couldn't be happy.
And you could watch them. You could watch them back to back, and
yeah, yeah, you could literally watch these back to back and get that good sense of continuity going. I mean, it is fantastic.
Yep.
Great episode.
Exactly.
Movie. Okay, now we've got something that's I hate to end this on a bit of a downer.
Yeah, but
this is something that needs to be talked about given some things that have happened over the past several weeks.
Yeah, and it's pretty heavy, but it's been in the news. It's at the top of the news. Several people that have decided to end their own lives. We've had that personally happen in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We've known people, and it's devastating. It's very devastating for, the families and the people left behind, and yes, that's selfish of us to want to keep that person, but it's not the end of the world. Things do get better. If your life is spinning out of control, there's a widget on the right-hand side at the upper left-hand corner. You're going to see that every time you log on to our page. It's right there. If your life is spinning out of control, there's a link. Please look at it. Take to heart those things that are said in that document. And, and if it still seems bad, talk to somebody. Please, please, please talk to somebody before you do anything. The National Suicide Prevention Helpline is 1-800-273-8255. We have that on the website. And something that in the LGBTQ population, suicide is huge. It's an enormous thing in the population, especially among young gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender teens and young adults. The Trevor Project is there. Reach out to them, 1-866-844-7386. Please reach out before you do anything drastic.
Yes.
It's just please, please, please. And now we get to play the real music.
Get to play the real
again. And now the weekly review.
Now, really, the weekly review, and
I don't have to give you funny looks.
No, don't look at me strangely anymore. And we are just busy these days.
Oh my
Holy cow,
gosh.
guys! Go to our website, tggeeks.com, because all of these articles, we ran this past week. Now, we're going to have links for all of these in the show notes for this episode, but I tell you, if you want to be current on everything that we're running, visit tggeeks.com on a daily basis, because on June 11th, this last Monday, we had our episode 173. Also had the review for The Incredibles 2, and we had 2 press releases, one for a horror film called The Little Stranger, and one for sort of a science drama called First Man, starring Ryan Gosling, about the life of Neil Armstrong. Then on Tuesday, had a review for Katie Edwards. You heard him in our interview segment from last week. This is his book, Last Son. Got a review for that. And then we had an article, Dr. Zombie Monster, Family Physician Comes to TG Geeks.
Yeah, a press release on that. And you should have seen that yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also on Tuesday, we had the press release for us signing our deal with Krypton Radio. And then on Wednesday, we had a old classics newly reviewed. This was a weird one, Doctor Who, Genesis of the Daleks. Yes, the 6-part episode from Tom Baker's first season of Doctor Who from 1975. It was shown on the big screen, so we got to see that, and I got a review out there for that. On Thursday is the series-ending thoughts for Sense8. And then on Friday, June 15th, there was the issue number 15 of the almost intergalactic famous news, Sushi, Morsels of News from Japan and Beyond, from our good friend Hamish Downey.
Number 15.
Yes, and then we had a review for the new Ocean's 8 from Jeannie Koch.
Yeah, she actually got out of the house.
She got out of the house, imagine that. And we had a press release for a new book that it's been published in the UK and is soon to be hopefully published here in the US by Mark O'Connell. The book is called Watching Skies, Star Wars, Spielberg, and Us. So hopefully we'll have more information on that in the future. And then for our social Saturday, Jeannie comes back with Old Vinings Inn. This looks like a fantastic restaurant in the greater Atlanta area. Vinings, Georgia, to be precise.
Yeah.
But it looks fantastic. But that was our weekly review. So, guys, again, check out tggeeks.com. There is a lot of great content there that we run on a daily basis. You won't be sorry. But, again, we'll have all the links for these stories in our show notes for this episode.
Check out tggeeks.com. Visit and comment, please. Check out the calendar also on our website. We're going to have several things there. And there are some widgets on the right-hand side of the page. As always, lots of books that from people that we know and people that we like. Pre-order for Beth Cato's Roar of Sky, the 3rd book in the Blood of Earth series. And you can order The Last Son by Katie Edwards that we talked about, and we talked to him last week and had the review this week. Check out the Kickstarter from Mighty Aphrodite, the brainchild of Gene Turnbow of Krypton Radio, MightyAphroditeWebSeries.com. And Arizona Opera, check out the lineup starting in October at azopera.org. And as everybody knows, we are huge supporters of
independent supporters.
Yes. Yes. Huge supporters of independent creators, filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, etc. Please support them by buying their stuff.
Special shout-outs to Doctor Who Talking Who on Twitter, Michael C. Burgess on Twitter, Human Arkle on Twitter. They all have paper release that republish our content on a regular basis. You can find the Doctor Who Fancast Guide by searching out at Talking Who. You can find Michael's Byronics Semidiurnal Aggregator by searching at Byronic on Twitter. And the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News, just look for at Arkle. And he's also on Tumblr with the incorrect Star Trek Voyager quotes. And, of course, we must always give a special shout-out to the Facebook group, The Gay Geek, for allowing us to post our episodes and relevant stories on their page. It's Facebook.com Facebook.com/group/thegaygeek. And as always, a great shout out to Jeremiah Reeves for allowing us to share our stuff there.
Yes, thanks, Jeremiah. And we want to remind you to occasionally click on our Amazon ads. They're at the bottom of each article and on the right-hand side. And check us out on iHeartRadio. And please review us on iTunes and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm not real sure who we're on.
We got somebody.
We've got a lot.
We've got a lot of interviews in the
can,
in the can, still in the pipeline. Yeah. I don't know who's next week. I can't remember.
Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We'll have several links on the page of things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com. Or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening.
Warning! Warning!
Well, that was the wrong.
Yeah?
That was the wrong one. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Peace.
Galbaki?